morning. Oh, it's freezing. It's absolutely freezing. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, the village is fast asleep. And I think I'm the only person up and about, or the only person stupid enough to be up and about. My face is numb, so I can barely speak. Some of you may feel that that's a blessing. Anyway, today I thought I would do my video talking about my weight loss and how I've do you know what, I think it's snowing. God, did you like that ADHD brain flip? Let me start again. I'm so sorry. So today's video I'm going to talk about my 4 stone weight loss. It's actually a little bit more than 4 stone. How I lost it naturally and how I've kept it off now. I'm starting my 3rd year, because it was actually February 2 years ago that I started the journey. So for me, it was a health scare that spurred me on. And we can talk about that in another video if you like. But basically I tried every single diet known to God and man. I tried Weight Watchers, Slimming World, back when it was red and green, if you know, you know. Slim Fast, the maple syrup diet, cabbage soup diet, boiled egg diet, you name it, I'd done it. Then I got a thyroid condition, ended up having thyroid cancer, then add into the mix menopause, and the weight gain was real. So basically for me, I needed to find some habits that were lifelong, didn't feel like a diet, something I could stick to, something that wasn't grueling, to make it work. And basically I think that I did. Well, I will caveat that with, gosh, I'm so cold, is that yes, I am a medical professional, but no, this is not my field of expertise. This is just me talking you through what I did to successfully lose over 4 stone and keep it off. So the first hack, if you like, for me that worked was I needed to find exercise, and I needed to find exercise that would fit in with a really busy schedule. As you know, I work full-time. I do full-time hours condensed into long days, so I don't have a huge amount of time. I'm also a carer for my wife who has brain tumours, and basically have a very full life. So I needed to find exercise that would slot in, that was doable, and as the old saying goes, the best form of exercise is something that you can do and something that you can stick to. So this one I'm doing now, out walking the boys at 7 o'clock on a Sunday, is part of my hack. Yeah, one of my habits. I do it every single day, hail, rain or snow. Some days I hit 10,000 steps, most days I hit 10,000 steps, but that's because it suits me and suits my routine. What I will say for anyone starting this is do what works for you. I'm going to have to change hands. Honestly, I think I'm getting frostbite. Look how unimpressed they look. Oh, are you okay, babies? So this is, when I say to you, I have the teeniest amount of space, this is my space. And this morning I have a captive audience. I have Lily. Yeah, Lily fancies doing herself a bit of yoga this morning, and Albert and Ernie on the sofa. You can see under here, I've got my weights. Now, that may look impressive. That little weights tree, but basically I bought the tree itself from Amazon, and the weights I have collected as I've gone up in my weights. Basically every day, or when I say every day, on my work days, let me turn you around. So on my work days I've got myself into a nice little routine. So when you saw me out in the field, that was me walking the dogs, getting in my steps. I'm fortunate really, because I do have the dogs to take out, because I don't know if I would do the walking if I didn't have the dogs. I just think I'd look a bit of a weirdo walking around the village at silly o'clock to try and get my steps in. So basically, honestly, I don't half waffle, as you know. By the time I get back, I've done about 7,000 steps, because the lap around the village is about 3.5 miles. So I do that on my work days, and then I come back home and I will choose a 10-minute workout, because that's the only time I have is 10 minutes. Usually I go on YouTube and I follow a lady called Fit by Mick, and I use one of her 10-minute workouts. This morning, because I've got the captive audience of 3 dogs that will be all, as soon as I hit that mat, they will be all over me like a rash. So I'm just going to do some upper body. Now, when I first started doing my exercises from home, I was absolutely rubbish. I really was rubbish, but over the couple of years that I've been losing the weight and trying to keep it off, I have got stronger and stronger. So this morning I'm just going to do my upper body. I'm going to do my press ups. When I first started my press ups, I used to have to do them on the wall because I couldn't do a full press up, and then I graduated from the wall to doing press ups on my knees, and now I can do them on my toes, and I try and bosh out as many as I can in a minute. So I'm going to see how well we can do this morning. No pressure. Okay, you can see the dogs are already starting. Stop it, Ernie. So let's get this done. Actually, let me take my socks off. Okay, so the dogs are already starting to perform. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Alexa to set me a timer for a minute, and we're just going to see how many press ups we can bosh out in a minute. So this is just, like say, today is, I'm not going to do the 10 minutes because I've got the dogs and they're already aggravating me. We're just going to see how many press ups I can bosh out over a minute. So wish me luck. Alexa, set the timer for a minute. 1 minute, starting now. Oh. Alexa, stop. So I think I'm knackered. I think I managed 41, which is not bad. You may have noticed for the last 10 I dropped down to my knees, because basically I try and go until my muscles are absolutely screaming, because apparently that's what we're supposed to do, and my shoulders are screaming. So I know it's only a small amount of exercise this morning. We've already walked 3.5 miles in the freezing cold sleet. We've come back, I've mopped the hallway, fed the dogs, washed the dishes. Whew, I'm going to get my breath back, make myself a nice protein coffee, and then sit down and relax for 10 minutes. I almost forgot to tell you, I also take a ginger shot. Now this is, I think it's $4.99 a bottle, which to me is extortionate. So I bought this weeks ago and drank the whole lot. Down the side it gives you the shot measurement, and it gives you 7 days worth of shots in this bottle. But to me it was so disgracefully expensive. Carla bought it for me and I thought, there's hell on earth am I going to be paying that? So basically I make it myself now, just fill the bottles back up. If you would like to know how to make your ginger shots, leave me a message below and perhaps I can do a little video and show you how to make them. Super easy, and it will save you an absolute fortune. So I've given it a good shake already. Chin chin. Apparently ginger can react with some of your medications, so if you are on prescription medications, before you go guzzling this, perhaps have a word with your healthcare professional to see if any of your meds interact. Mine don't, so I'm quite safe. Anyway, hello, welcome back. I've been all over the place this morning, haven't I? Out in that freezing cold field this morning. Oh my word, it was beyond cold. I can't even tell you. My hands were that numb. I've got Raynaud's,
And so when my hands get that cold, honestly, all bets are off. Yeah, and I think we've had all seasons in the weather today. We've had glorious sunshine, snow, rain, wind. We've had them all. Anyway, here we are. If I'm honest, I can't remember. I can't remember what I finished on earlier on. I know I was in the kitchen. Was I in the kitchen? That's it. I was showing you about the shots, the ginger shots. Yes, that's it. So the ginger shots, basically, they're wonderful. Super duper expensive when you buy that bottle. Is it Mojo? Super expensive, but please don't spend your money. If you want to know how to make those shots, let me know. Leave me a comment down below and we can perhaps make a video of me doing that. Anyway, so back to the video today. So a couple of you have asked me, genuinely asked me, what I did to lose the weight. For those of you that perhaps haven't watched anything I've done before, hi, my name is Debbie and I've lost a little over 4 stone naturally. It took me a long time. It took me, well, I say it took me 2 years, but it's an ongoing thing. I don't have an end date, basically. This is a lifestyle change for me that was bought on me by a incident that I had. I had a health scare, basically. I had a collapse in a field. My heart was in an abnormal rhythm, and although I was overweight, I'm 5'8", and although I don't really think I should be talking about numbers, but anyway, regardless, we're all friends here, aren't we? I'm 5'8", and I was 14 stone 9. Sometimes I think perhaps I had gotten a little bit beyond that, but that was what I weighed when I last went on the scales. So I had an echo and the results were normal. So it was basically me having a word with myself to say, look, you know, enough's enough. You need to take this in hand. You need to sort yourself out. And that is what I did. I've got one of the dogs under the table. Anyway, so I thought I'd throw together this video. I tried to make a start of it in the field, but the wind was horrendous. And I'm not sure how much you were able to hear or not. But basically, I made a list. How many I've written them down, because you know me and my menopausal brain. So I've written 12 hacks. But you know I waffle, so it'll probably end up more than that. So basically, what tips or tricks have I done that have helped me to successfully and naturally lose over 4 stone? Well, the first one for me was getting rid of the diet mentality, because to me, a diet has a beginning, it has a middle, it has an end, and then it has the maintenance. And I'd tried them all. I'd tried, well, all of them that I listed earlier on in the video, and more besides. And there was also some that I'd made up myself, you know, 3, I used to call them bing and dings, 3 Weight Watchers bing and dings a day, and then wonder why after 2 months I was slowly starving myself to death and stuffing my face and piling all the weight back on. So to me, whatever changes I made, I knew they had to be lifelong. I needed to be able to stick to these changes, embrace them, and just make them part of my life. Because if anything, if I went on this diet, deprivation, cutting out all sorts of food groups kind of scenario, it was doomed to fail. So basically what I started to do was just to move my body some more. I needed exercise that I could do consistently. I also needed something that I could stick to, I could do regardless of what the weather was doing outside, with no or minimal cost attached. So I decided to get the boys into a routine of walking, the boys being my fur babies. Set myself a step target. So I can remember when I first started this health kick, I would be lucky if I'd hit 3,000 steps a day. And I mean, seriously, that was on a good day. So I knew I had to increase my step count, and forget the target of 10,000 steps. You do a step count that works for you. And for me, as long as you're moving slightly more than you moved the day before, then you're on to a winner. And also making it part of my routine. So my routine in the morning is I get out of bed, I literally put the leads on the dogs, I'm still in my gym jams, and I'm walking around the village in my gym jams. I have no cares in the world about who sees me in my pyjamas. I'm sure I'm a lovely welcome sight on the neighbours' ring doorbells, but there we are. So To me, if I get up and add in the additional step of putting walking gear on or exercise gear, it wouldn't work. It's just get up, get the dogs on the lead, get out the door. By the time I've done a lap of the village and I get back, I feed the dogs. And as you saw this morning, as the dogs are eating, I normally come in the lounge, put on a 10-minute exercise video, and away I go. What I've also, so I'll call those my exercise snacks, because they're only 10-minute sessions, because that's the only time I have in which to do them. And the quote I was trying to think of this morning, which I got all back to front and upside down, was the best workouts are those that you will do. So I know if it's just 10 minutes, I'll do it. I also started doing other things as well. So I'd boil the kettle, and while the kettle was boiling, I'd do as many squats as I could fit in while the kettle was boiling. Just little things like that. I would do some wall push-ups, because I said earlier on I couldn't do a push-up when I first started exercising, so I'd do them off the work surface, then I'd do them off the wall, and I slowly progressed to the point where I am today, and I can do them on my toes. So then I decided I'd get a little bit more adventurous, and I'd set myself a challenge. So it would be, for example, how many press-ups can I do in a minute? How many squats can I do in a minute? How many burpees can I do in a minute? And the answer to the last one is not many. So I would do that. Then it would be, how long can I hold a plank for? Well, I held it for 1.5 minutes last week. Let's see if I can do it for 1 minute, 40 seconds this week, etc., etc., and just give myself these little challenges. And they sound really silly, but it's just confidence boosting, isn't it? Well, it is for me. And then I thought, I'm really going to mix it up a bit, and I'm going to try and do a headstand. I can't remember, is it calisthenics or calisthenics or something like that? I'm sure you'll let me know down below. I wanted to do a headstand. Now, at the lovely tender age of 55, that was quite a challenge, and there was no way. When I first got my head on the mat, I couldn't even kick both feet off the floor. Honestly, I couldn't do it, but I was absolutely determined, and you'll never guess what. I can do it dead easy now. I can flip upside down dead easy, and I literally was starting from grassroots level. So I'm going to put a picture here. I got Carly to do the pictures for me this morning, because I tried to do it with my tripod and it was just a disaster. Yeah, so for me, it's all about something that I can do that's not going to be a huge disruption, something that I can commit to, something that's a bit of fun and a challenge. Now, my next challenge is doing a handstand, and then after that, I'm going to go on to the splits. If I tried the splits now, my hips would pop out the sockets. Honestly, it wouldn't end well. I probably need an ambulance to get me off the floor if I tried the splits now. But yeah, so it's just about making it fun, and that's what works for me. Also, in the summer months, when I'm out with the dogs, if we walk over, I call them the back fields, but they're the fields when I did that chat, tell me you're 50 without telling me you're 50. I never see a soul. So when it's nice weather, I'll go over the backfields, take the dogs off their lead, and I'll do some interval running. Honestly, sometimes I feel like I couldn't run a bath and my lungs are on fire, but it's just about having a go, isn't it? So that's what works for me anyway. It's just doing what I can do within the time that I've got to do it. So that's my exercise. That's all I've done for my exercise. And the 10-minute videos, I rotate them. So one day I'll do 10-minute worth of abs, next day 10-minute worth of arms, legs and glutes, that kind of thing. And then I'll do a 10-minute hit, which is difficult in the house because Albert thinks I'm playing and he starts to try and bite my heels. But anyway, that's the exercise. So that's all I've done. There's no real structured exercise per se, no gym membership, nothing like that, no expensive gym clothes. I haven't even bought myself a new pair of trainers. I just, when I'm in the house, I'm in my socks. When I'm out, I'm in my dogging boots, as I call them. And I just make use of what I've got. So as for the diet, so this was big for me because as I've said before in previous videos, my diet, I just got into really bad habits like we do, and the weight had just crept on and crept on and crept on, and I had everything biologically working against me from a weight gain perspective. I'd had a total clearance of the neck because of the thyroid cancer. So I have to take medication for hypothyroid and hypoparathyroid. So that caused weight gain. Then I was perimenopausal, now menopausal, so that caused the weight gain. And I have a very sedentary job. That added to it. And then if you add to the mix the level of stress that Carla and I have been through for the last 4 years with the brain tumours, and stress, as we know, we all know someone, don't we, who's had a course of steroids, and when they've been on those steroids, they've piled on the weight. Well, our own steroids, you know, that we produce when we're stressed, they're fat storing hormones. So the stars were aligned really, and I just got bigger and bigger and bigger and more unwell and more unwell. Some days I would have double vision, and I'm not joking, and I don't say that lightly. I'd be driving along and I'd see a pylon, and it would look like the pylon had a shadow of a pylon behind it. And the same with the birds in the sky. And I went to the opticians, and there was no problem really with my eyesight, apart from the fact I need these massive glasses. Yeah, and looking back, I think it's a high possibility that if I wasn't pre-diabetic, I was definitely insulin resistant, that's for sure. I was out of breath walking up the stairs. I was just a ticking time bomb really. And anyway, when I had this health scare and I went to A&E and I had the echocardiograph, to cut a long tale short, I was started on some medication. I think I've already said that, I'm repeating myself. And my cholesterol levels were okay, but they were the higher end of normal. And I was just becoming that cliche, you know, 50s, fat, frumpy, high cholesterol, type 2 diabetic. Everything was just headed that way. So I knew that I needed to do something, and I needed to do something not fast, because there's no fast ways about losing weight. I needed to educate myself really. I needed to learn a little bit more than I'd learned before about nutrition. I needed to learn how our bodies respond to the food that we put in our mouth. I needed to learn what were making my hunger signals scream at me. So I needed to educate myself, and that's what I did. And I learned so much, all self-taught, all self-directed study, but I learned so much. I learned about the importance of basing your meals around protein, fat and fibre. I didn't cut out carbohydrates. I didn't for a second. In fact, my meals would be made up of protein, and I'm not vegetarian, so it would be protein, fish or meat or pulses, a pile full of vegetables, the salads, and then I would use olive oil, but I'd buy, I know it sounds really middle class, but I'd buy a really lovely peppery olive oil, and I'd have that on my salad. And I just found that when I was eating better and I was focusing more on keeping my insulin levels stable, that I naturally wanted to eat less. So how did that look in practical terms? Well, for me, as I said earlier on in the video, I don't like breakfast. I've never really been a breakfast fan at all. And I always found on the rare occasion that I did have breakfast, I would be hungrier come 11 o'clock. I now understand why, but I won't go into that right now. But breakfast and me is just a no-go. So what I will do, my mornings are really busy, so I'll make my protein coffee. Sometimes I won't even have the protein coffee, but when I get to work, say about 11 o'clock or something like that, if I've gotten a yogurt with me, I'll put some seeds in the yogurt, some flax seeds in the yogurt, some berries. I'll mix in some collagen powder, so I'll perhaps have that. So it's protein packed. I'll have that 11 o'clock-ish. But when I say 11 o'clock, I'm not ruled by numbers anymore. So if it gets to 11 o'clock, I'm not hungry, I won't eat. If it gets to midday and I'm hungry, I'll eat. And again, at lunch, it's I'll probably take leftovers from the night before, and our meals are based around protein, fat, fibre, so I'll have that for my lunch. The biggest thing that I taught myself was the snacking. So the snacking, basically, I tried to knock the snacking on the head. And this didn't happen overnight, because I've always been a grazer, you know, pick. Not one for big meals at all, but I would just constantly graze. So my snacking, I cut right back. And that was torturous, particularly at work, where the biscuit barrel's always being passed up and down the desk, and the sweets are always being passed up and down the desk. But that's the only really huge life change from a diet perspective that I made. It was, I had to be strict about the snacking. Did I cut it out completely? Absolutely not. So if someone's got a birthday at work and they bring in some birthday cake, I will have a slice of that birthday cake. Same if someone, it was my birthday a couple of weeks ago, someone bought me some chocolate, I'm going to have some chocolate, because life is life and life is too short, isn't it? And plus I find if I'm too restrictive, so if I say to myself, that's it, as of Monday, I'm not going to have any sweets, I'm not going to have any snacks, it's nonsense, because I'll crave it, and I'll crave it, savagely crave it. So yes, that was a biggie for me. So protein, fat, fibre for my meals. Snacks kept to a minimum. And one of the biggest changes for me was when I first started the process, I had to try and identify which were my, not trigger points, but which were my danger points. So I could be as good as gold all day because I'm occupied and I'm busy. Then I'd get home, and honestly, I was like a Tasmanian devil in the kitchen. It's like a swarm of locusts had been through the food cupboards, because I was like the Cookie Monster, you know, in the crisp basket, in the biscuit barrel. By the time my meal would be on the table, I was that full of junk. I didn't really want the meal. I'd eat it anyway because it was there and it was in front of me. So I thought, what am I going to do to stop this? Because I'm so good all day, and then I get home and it's just dreadful. So what I started to do, and again, this is not for everybody, and this is, you know, like I said earlier on, I am a clinician, but this isn't my field of expertise. These are just tips and tricks that I've learned. So I started to take a protein shake with me to work. So when I was leaving university to come home, I would make my protein shake up, and by the time I got to the car, I would drink my protein shake on the way home. So then I'd get home and I was no longer driven by this insatiable hunger and this insatiable urge to clean out the cupboards and the fridge, because the protein was doing its job, and it was keeping me satiated long enough for when my meal was cooked and my meal was then in front of me. So that was one of the biggest tips for me, is take that protein shake to work, or if it wasn't a shake, I'd take a protein bar. Have that on the way home, so I wasn't ravenous when I walked in through the front door. So by the time I'd had that and I'd had my main meal, I wasn't really hungry in the evening. And like most of us, I'd got into really bad habits of putting something on the telly and eating my own body weight in kettle chips or chocolate, fruit and nut bar. So I'd just gotten into really bad habits. So I found, once I was getting into my groove, once I'd had my protein shake and my main meal, I wasn't really that hungry for a snack. But if I fancied something, I would have it. So if I fancied a bit of chocolate, I'd go in the kitchen and I would snap off some squares of the fruit and nut, or I'd take, you know, a few of Carla's Maltesers, or a couple of chocolate digestive biscuits. And because I'm not denying myself, I wasn't craving it. And then it quite naturally got to the point where I didn't really want it at all. So that was basically the start of it. And then I also made the decision that I wasn't going to weigh myself, because for me, I would obsess. Honestly, I'd get on the scales. I'd get on the scales in the morning, and then I'd get on them again when I got home from work. I'd go to the loo, I'd get on the scales. I'd have a bath, I'd get on the scales. I'd cut my toenails, I'd get on the scales. Just a nightmare, and I would obsess. And if I'd been good, if you like, for a few days and got on the scales and I'd gained a few pounds, which is more than plausible, isn't it? If you have a higher carbohydrate meal at lunchtime, you're holding more fluid come tea time, so the scales will reflect that. But in my brain, it's like, there's no point in me doing this. I'm putting on weight, absolutely wasting my time. And then I would stuff my face. So I just thought, this is ridiculous. I'm going to take some before pictures. I'm going to take some measurements, and I'll perhaps weigh myself once a month, or, you know, however often I wanted to weigh myself. And I found actually the before and after photographs were far more helpful than jumping on the scales, because the scales for me, they're my nemesis. Even to this day, they are my nemesis, because for all the reasons I've already said. You get on the scales and you don't see a number that you want to see. And it's awful. We just self-sabotage, don't we? And I can remember, was it a YouTuber? I can't remember, but someone far more intelligent than me come out with an analogy, and they said, why do we do this? If we get on the scales and we've gained 2 pounds, why do we think, well, that's a waste of time, I'm just going to stuff my face? Or if I fall off the wagon, or if I do something that I deem to have cocked up my my efforts, I'll then go, right, well, there's no point, stuff. And this person said, look, if you went out to your car in the morning and you had 1 flat tyre, you wouldn't then go and stab the other 3 flat tyres because you've knackered your car with a 1 flat tyre, would you? No, you would sort out that flat tyre and you'd get on with your day. So your eating, if you like, should be the same. So what if you fell off the wagon? You know what? You're going to leave that there and carry on with your day. And mentally, I had a lot of food, lots of mental issues around food. I'd never had an ED or anything like that, but I had a terrible relationship with food, if you like. Yeah, and I don't know where it stemmed from. I really don't know where it stemmed from, but it was something that kind of, yeah, it's all I knew really. All my adult life, it's all that I knew was this terrible relationship with food, very all or nothing mentality, until I started to educate myself and until I learned what foods I need to be eating to best control my appetite, to give myself a fighting chance to lose this weight. And yeah, so I think I weighed myself after about, I don't know, I'd be lying if I said I knew the exact time, but let's say 6 weeks. And I can remember being blown away because I'd lost just under a stone. Now I know that the majority of that was probably water weight, but was absolutely flabbergasted. And I hadn't really done anything different. I hadn't followed any diet. I'd literally cut out the snacks, prioritised protein, fat and fibre in every meal, and had that shake on my way home from work. And I'd also implemented all the exercise hacks that I discussed with you earlier on. And that's all I did really. For me, I'm just checking my list because you know how I love a list. For me, yes, I've written here, measure yourself, take photographs, weigh only if you need to weigh. Waist measurement, that was a brilliant one because I've got my numbers. I must write them down and show you when this next comes up in conversation. But my waist was was 38 inches. I was like a little Marmite jar on legs. You know, as it grew out of the Minions. So I had this rotund front. Yeah, like a Marmite jar on legs. So slowly seeing that waist come back, that was brilliant, yeah. And I still actually get a little bit blown away by how much my body shape has changed. And mentally, I still find that challenging because mentally, I still want to go to the 16, 18 size clothes. And of course, they're far too big. I'm between a 10, 12, sometimes a 14, depending on where I shop. Yeah. So that's it really. That was it for me. I just want to check my list. I've told you about my exercise, going out in my pyjamas. Let's not make this any more difficult than what it is. Exercise, snacks, doing 10-minute workouts. Yeah, prioritising weight so you could use your own body weight, hence the press-ups. And you saw my little dumbbell rack, and those, like I say, I bought the rack off Amazon, and the dumbbells themselves I've bought from Facebook Marketplace, or I bought the most recent ones I bought in the not black sale, what's it called, Black Friday. So you don't need to spend a lot of money. I've also got some resistance bands and I've got some yoga blocks. Yeah, and I just pull out my yoga mat again, got that off Amazon, pull out my yoga mat and have a go. And the challenges, yeah, pick a challenge. It doesn't have to be anything as adventurous as a handstand. You know, just do squats. See if you can do 10 squats the next day or the next week. See if you can do 15. And the diet, move away from food restriction. If anything, I probably eat more in terms of volume than what I used to eat. because I'm prioritising the fibre, as in the vegetables and the salad. So protein, fat, fibre, no snacking or minimal snacking. I find that if I start snacking, there's a tendency for me to want to carry on snacking, so I'll try not to snack. Oh yes, water. I drink a lot of water. I drink at least 2 litres, probably more. That's just plain water, and then on top of that add my tea and coffee. I'd be lying if I said I had it black. I can't stand the taste of it black. I've tried, honestly, I've tried, but I just don't like the taste. I do have skimmed milk, white water, because it's tasteless, isn't it? But I do have milk in my tea and my coffee. Do I have diet Pepsi Max? I do. I know I'm naughty. I know I shouldn't, but I do. And what else? I don't really count calories. When I first started, I had the NutriCheck app. In fact, I still do randomly use my NutriCheck app because I paid for an annual subscription. And every now and again, I'll do a couple of days of tracking just to see where I am. And I quite naturally tend to sit around, I've written it down here, 2,400, 2,500 calories. Some days it will be far less. Some days it will be a little bit more. But I quite naturally, without purposefully tracking, that's where I quite naturally sit calorie-wise. I wish I could stop saying So yes, NutriCheck app. Some people use MyFitnessPal, but I've never used it, so I won't be able to really comment on that. But the NutriCheck app is good, and you can actually put in different micronutrients that you want to track. So in there, as you can probably gather, is my protein, fat, fibre and calories. Yes, and I do like that, and I find most of the foods that I would eat are already on there. So yes, that's it really. I've written some other bits and bobs here, like take the stairs. I know this sounds crazy, but in the university I work on the third floor, and I won't use the toilets on the 3rd floor. I will go to the basement, and I know I look mental, and my work colleagues will pass me and they'll just go off to the loo. Weirdo. Because one, they're immaculately clean because nobody uses them apart from my good self, and 2, I get the steps in, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4 flights of stairs between each floor, you know what I mean? So 2 flights, 1, 2. So that's a boring fact, isn't it? So anyway, I very rarely take the lift. My reason for using the lift is if it's absolutely necessary. So say for example I'm meeting a student on the ground floor and they're coming up to the 3rd floor. I won't expect them to do the stairs, so I'll do the lift then. I don't actually like the lift, but I will go in the lift when I have to. What else? Walk after meals. Yes, that's a good tip. Not always absolutely I'm not always absolutely able to do that. So if I'm eating my lunch at my desk, I haven't really got time then to run around the block or walk around the block. But it's a good habit to get into if you can be disciplined to go walking after you've eaten. Apparently if you walk within 20 minutes of eating, it helps your body to mop up the glucose from your bloodstream quicker. If you want it in any more detail and more science-based than that, then please do follow my lovely friend, Dr. Ruth Machin. She's wonderful. She's absolutely wonderful. And she will give you all of this information, but back it up with robust data and robust meta-analysis. They're her favourites. Yeah, wonderful lady. So give her a follow. What else was I going to tell you? So we've spoken about protein, fat, fibre, exercise, don't restrict, don't cut out any food groups. I think that's pretty much it. The bottom line is there's no magic wand, is there, for losing weight and keeping it off. And there's definitely no quick fix, because believe you me, if there was a quick fix, I would have found that bad boy. I would have found it. Because I have tried every single diet and there is no quick fix. So it's all just about educating yourself what works for you, and what has worked for me you may find is a load of nonsense and it doesn't work for you, but this is what's worked for me. And we're now over 2 years of keeping it off, and I don't intend to put it back on anytime soon. The downside of losing weight is this turkey neck. Look at that. Look at that. Yeah, I need to pull my ponytail dead tight. Let me see if it makes a difference. No. Anyway, there we are. You asked for this. You wanted this. Whether or not it's been of any help, I don't know. But please do leave a comment down below. Please do give Dr. Ruth Machin a follow. That was what I meant to tell you. Protein. I tend to roughly sit as a guide at 1 gram of protein per kg of my body weight. Some days I hit it, some days I don't, but that's my benchmark. And Dr. Ruth Machin has got a wonderful formula of how to calculate how much protein is best to suit your needs. So please do hop across and give her a follow. So that's it, lovely people. I know I've probably bored you all to tears. But some of you had asked for it. I promise some of you had asked for it. And yeah, so if this is something that you want to visit yourself, then and you want some support, as I say, I'm not an expert. I can only give you the benefits of what I've learned along my way. If you want anything more science-backed, then you need to see someone with far more qualifications than my good self. But I'm more than happy to help any of you. And for those of you that have taken the time to comment, you've probably gathered that I do respond to all of my comments, all of them, because to me, if you have taken the time to watch my video and to leave me a comment, the least you deserve from me is a response. So thank you. And just quickly before we leave, I think last time I looked this morning, we are at 194 subscribers. I know, it's crazy, isn't it? So if you're new, thank you so much for pressing subscribe. And if you are a returning sweet, then thank you. And as I always say, we are a community here. We are friends. So please don't ever feel that you're alone. Leave me a comment. I'll always respond. And that's it from me. So from my family to yours, lots of love. And I will see you next Sunday for another long... check the community tab for my collab that I'm doing on Wednesday with Trixie. I'm super excited, but I won't waffle on about that. Just check it out on the community tab. Anyway, have a lovely afternoon. If you're in the UK, stay dry. And wherever else you are in the world, sending you lots of love. Bye.